I shitted in my pants.
Club Penguin was one of the coolest MMOs from the 2000s, and no, I'm not going to argue on it. Also, Operation Blackout was totally Antarctic's fault. Herbert Percival Bear Esquire was originally born across the globe in the Arctic Circle, probably like in the North Pole or something. I'll put an image up just to make fun of myself, though he felt like an outsider due to having differing opinions from the other polar bears. Hating the cold, pretty much being the only genius there according to him, and being a vegetarian, and also not swimming, but he's not too proud of that fact. He prefers vegetables over meat due to their taste, texture, and overall healthier than meat, because meat causes cancer apparently. Thankfully he's not a vegan. Polar bears are actually opportunists and scavengers in real life, eating anything from dead animals, berries, seaweed, fish, and eggs. Not just seal meat, they usually eat pretty much anything that they can find if seals aren't available. They also don't eat penguins because they live on the opposite side of the globe. But if there's like a human that comes across, like a hungry or mama polar bear, you might as well be deep throating a loaded rifle, because polar bears are the only bear that we don't have a rhyme on how to stay alive against them. So you're fucked. You're absolutely fucked. Herbert can't really swim, unlike polar bears too. And while polar bears swim for a short burst of time to get food and shit, Herbert can't even doggy paddle. He just self-destructs when he gets into like a puddle of water. As do I, because I hate that shit getting on my socks. If I can find my socks. So, after being shunned from every other polar bear, shunning them, he decided, I've had enough of this shit. He wanted to go to a place where nice sandy beaches, a warm sun, and fresh fruit, which... Same, Herbert, same. He set sail on a lone iceberg, not really knowing where he was going. He just kind of drifted there for days. Assuming Herbert's birthplace and Club Penguin are like the South and North Poles, it can take anywhere from like 60 to 90 days, maybe even more, to travel by boat at that route. Though from what I can tell, it was probably taking those examples from like cruise ships and shit, which would be the most ideal way to get across the ocean. But Herbert wasn't on a cruise ship, he was on a fucking iceberg. And may I remind you, he's a vegetarian. He didn't dare touch the fish, he just scavenged like seaweed and shit. And apparently, seaweed has iodine, and probably the amount of seaweed Herbert was eating to sustain himself for at least 90 days, he would either starve or be subject to iodine toxicity. Because apparently that's a thing. I thought it was just like a disinfectant in Charlie Brown after Snoopy looks like, what was it, Lucy's face? I get her and Sally mixed up. Symptoms of iodine toxicity include upsetting your GI tract so much you turn into a biological Beyblade, to cardiovascular shock and delirium, and probably death. I don't know. I haven't eaten that much seaweed. To be honest, if I had to eat that much seaweed for like 90 days straight, I'd kill myself on day one. Man, I've written a lot of suicide jokes in this. So Herbert must have been pretty fucked up during his journey. By the time he reaches Club Penguin Island, though, he's not skeletal, so he probably scrounged up enough plant-based protein shit to survive. Or maybe he like ate a couple fish, but he hated it. I can kind of understand. If I was left between seaweed and like some shitty meat like steak, I'd probably eat the steak even though I'd hate it. But Herbert survived long enough to realize he'd done fucked up and traveled to another snowy island. He tried to row away, only to tip over and nearly drown, until he was saved somehow by a crab. Before Herbert's final breath could be drowned out, CLICKBAIT managed to bring him to shore, saving his life. I don't know how, as Herbert probably weighs more than 10 times the amount of a little red crab. But I don't know, maybe he just got caught in CLICKBAIT's claw and he got dragged out by accident. CLICKBAIT was like, whoa, giant teddy bear. I mean, I don't know, I'm torn on CLICKBAIT's level of intelligence, because he's like a crab. He just kind of does what he wants to do, but he seems to be somewhat intelligent by freeing Herbert from many, I don't know. Anyway, Herbert is thankful for CLICKBAIT. He takes him on as a friend, protege, son. Put a pin in that last part. It's not just a throwaway line. God, I hate sentences with multiple of like R's, O's, and W's. With his new friend by his side, Herbert investigated the island, finding it much colder and more miserable than he first thought. Although he initially thought it would be cold and miserable because he said it was colder than his old island. He found the native penguins more perplexing too, not understanding how they could enjoy a place so unbearable to himself. CLICKBAIT didn't seem to mind though. Lowkey sounded fine. During his monologue towards the agent in his first official appearance, Herbert seemed slightly ashamed of his flaws, remarking, "Did it echo in here?" looking down at his feet after the agent questions why he can't swim. He does take great pride in making sure his story gets across perfectly by his own terms, as the one he tells the agent is his 7th version, and an extended cut at that. Herbert makes it known from the get-go that he wants to be noticed and heard, perhaps not as a villain, but an equal. I mean, it only says monologue, not evil villain monologue. He is a bit vain though, calling himself by Esquire, but he later says his entire species is genius at some point. So maybe he's more prideful in his culture than just himself. Herbert's first crimes are pretty much just petty. Instead of stealing coins from the single bank vault, he just turns them upside down with the magnet. Though that electrical box is a safety hazard, how Herbert didn't accidentally shock himself into Valhalla is a miracle. He does break and enter into the coffee shop, scaring penguins and knocking stuff over, but overall he doesn't harm the penguins directly. He's just cold and scared and angry. Keep in mind, he's still probably recovering from iodine toxicity without any medical treatment in his initial run-ins with penguins, and too much iodine from seaweed can cause delirium, as previously stated, and can even damage the esophagus and thyroid if left untreated. Keep in mind that Herbert also nearly drowned to death coming into Club Penguin in the first place, so imagine how scared Herbert is in that situation. Going from one place to another, nearly starving, being fucking sick from iodine, from the only food that he can manage to get just imagine how scared Herbert is in this situation, and the only potential help he can get is screaming back at him in fear, treating him like some sort of monster. Herbert would eventually make his and Klutzy's home base in the cave where in previous missions the agent would hunker down until Jetpack Guy goes, "Hey, you fucking suck at sleep." They refurbish it to make it a bit more livable. Herbert even gives Klutzy a puffle bed. Well, I don't see Herbert having a bed or a couch. He clearly holds Klutzy's need above himself, maybe seeing him as weaker and needing extra care, or, like I said earlier, not just a friend, but his own child. Put a pin in that, but make sure if you didn't put a pin in that earlier, do it now. Do it now. Maybe do your dishes while you're at it, because I can see the amount of dishes on your desk right now. Do it. Pause the video. Do it now. Do it now. Herbert only technically threatens a life when he traps you in a cage, but in the previous mission, we kidnapped Klutzy right in front of him. He wasn't abandoning Klutzy. Not really. He was only biding his time to take revenge on whoever tried to hurt his little friend, which honestly pretty clever. I don't even think Herbert was intending on keeping the agent there forever. I mean, he has the escape mechanism right there in the open. I mean, he was probably gonna let the agent escape as soon as he was done tearing down the ski lodge for firewood. But I mean, he could have just like froze him. He could have just froze the agent. He could have straight up killed the agent. But he's like, no, I'm gonna make you sit here, read my monologue of how I got to this point, and I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go. You gotta listen to my spiel first. Regardless, because you can't work on an empty stomach, Herbert gets distracted by a vegetarian pizza, and the agent foils his plans. But he does so in such a way that Herbert nearly drowns. Again, while unintentional, as Herbert could have been standing pretty much anywhere, you, as the agent, a member of the island's only government, committed a pretty much PG version of police brutality.
What do you mean by that?
And neither you or Gary seem to care. Like, you, the agent, know that Herbert can't swim, yet you just kind of stand there and watch as he falls into the ice pond and has to be saved by Klutzy, who is way smaller than him. Again. And you just do nothing. Jesus Christ, no wonder Herbert did that. And thus, the first cracks in Herbert's morality develop. The entire island would never accept him or his genius, and they don't care if he died. After that, Herbert taunts the PSA a little bit more before pulling out the main gear from the clock tower. Aside from the clock tower being stupidly synchronized to all the other clocks in Club Penguin, like, Gary, you made that clock. Wouldn't you figure out, like, we should probably have emergency measures in case something like this happens? He's just like, nope, this is fine. Let's just have Y2K happen. Other than that, you basically just make like an ice gear. So it's not that big of a threat. It's only like the next mission where Herbert uses that gear to make like a drill. Drills everywhere underneath the island, causing places to like sink into the ground. You'll know how dangerous digging under random places without like a license or permit or restrictions can get, because you can pretty much make like sinkholes. You can tear down buildings above you, which could have people in it without them knowing that you're drilling underneath there. And all this just to get a water boiler. But he goes about it in just the most dangerous way. However, it's the next scene when you confront him. Also, Herbert, seriously, if you're gonna commit terrorism, at least give your son a helmet. It's this next scene where you confront him in the boiler room that I want to point out. Herbert attempts to steal the boiler for himself, wanting his cave to be warmed up, but after a couple jabs by the player, Herbert snaps.
You've got music, games, and delicious vegetarian pizza. Not only that, you and your little friends party all the time. No, that's not true. I cannot smart you. I can succeed. Why don't my plans ever work?
I'm surprised that they didn't animate a tear running down Herbert's face during this scene. Also, I apologize for my bad voice acting. Herbert's words don't seem angry at the player. They seem angry at himself. They seem self-derogatory, insecure, as if he's been told before that he is stupid and that his plans will never succeed, and he'll never succeed at any. He also seems a little bit jealous of the other penguins, wanting to be along among them, but he can't. He doesn't know how they can be so happy in a place that brings him so much misery and fear. He wants to feel the same as they do, whether he's happy with them or they're miserable with him. He hits the boiler out of frustration, and before it can blow up, Herbert turns around. Before he leaves, he recommends that the agent runs away from the boiler and Well, he could have just left the agent without a word, but he still seems to care about his enemy in a weird way. Herbert never lashes out physically at any other living thing other than himself. Herbert never physically lashes out at anyone else, just inanimate objects like the said boiler, and in the late character bios from Disney and the devs, he hits flat surfaces. I want to read specific excerpts from it, as I find these personality traits that they've written down as potentially very much canon as interesting and kind of sad. When he is scared, he takes himself very seriously and doesn't allow himself to get scared. When given a gift, he goes,
What? What is this? What are you doing?
Whenever he's angry, he smashes his fist against a flat surface. When he's sad, he walls off his emotions and is liable to explode if a plan does not go well. Note that earlier, I pointed out how his plan to steal the boiler did not go well, and he exploded. That's listed under his reactions to getting sad. Herbert's shadow trait is also empathetic. You wouldn't think a villain would be empathetic, would you? It's very interesting. He also seems to enjoy his back and forth with the PSA and later EPF. Herbert, at this point, isn't evil. He's a tragic character. Instead of helping Herbert and rehabilitating him, the PSA, led by the lead of the only fucking news source in the island, Antarctic, villainize him. Again and again and again, egging him on to do more dangerous acts. Look, I'm not justifying Herbert's actions by any means, but I don't think a fucking popcorn bomb can be lethal. I didn't see any burns on the agents, and, okay, if penguins are actually, penguin size in Club Penguin, that was, maybe 4 bags of popcorn. Oh yeah, the super corn recipe. Okay. Well, no one died. Herbert should only get a vandalism charge for that. But no, let's just go egg on the potentially still iodine-poisoned bear instead of getting him help, or just banishing him on the island. Go send him with Rockhopper. Rid you of all your problems in the most safe way. But no. So Herbert's schemes ramp up to actual harm, nearly ending up in the island sinking multiple times, teaming up with other villains such as the Protobot. Pretty much now hates the other agents. I mean, I would too, refusing to use their actual names. It doesn't help that they still mock him for his inability to swim while the island is sinking. Great priorities there, agent. It's not like you're the fucking government, right? Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, she is mad. Oh, why is this Mountain Dew warm? Look, Gary, I love you and all, but you kind of brought this onto yourself. You, of all penguins, should know that Herbert could have been dealt with in a more peaceful manner. So, how do you deal with him? By turning his own body against him. Operation Hibernation was weird when I first played Club Penguin as a kid, and it's even weirder now, especially with more context into how polar bears actually work. It makes the EPF sound like actual monsters. In Operation Hibernation, EPF agents are tasked with capturing and imprisoning Herbert in a closed cell with an AC unit blasting, Jumper. Not blasting my cat. They're not firing lasers at my cat, don't worry. This little schemer, this elderly cat that's turning 1 year older this Halloween. I don't know if you can hear her, but she's purring like a motherfucker right now. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, Operation Hibernation. The EPF captured and imprisoned Herbert in a closed cell with AC blasting on pretty much far past full blast until he's forced into hibernation for 10 months. Nearly a year comatose. That's longer than his journey to Club Penguin in the first place. Now, I was curious. Do polar bears actually hibernate? For how long, and is this even possible? No, it's not. Antarctica is a monster. Why? Polar bears don't actually hibernate like other bears. No, in fact, the closest thing to hibernation in polar bears is when the female polar bears den in ice caves to give birth and care for their newborn cubs. They only maybe nap and wake up to feed their babies. Herbert is supposedly up to this point a male polar bear. Either the EPF lied and dosed Herbert with some sort of anesthesia. Now, remember when I told you to put a pin in what I said about Herbert and Klutzy's relationship earlier? Multiple times, because I'm a fucking dummy. Well, if Herbert is biologically female, but identifies as male, he might have adopted Klutzy as a kid. I mean, with some of the interactions and context clues, Klutzy is obviously child-coded. He plays on little tiny arcade machines beside Herbert on his computer with an improvised booster seat, or he's in a kid's toy wagon tied to the drill. He also lets Klutzy run in front of him when running from the boiler explosion. Is that to repay the favor of saving his life? Or parental instincts? I think it's at this point where Herbert finally snaps into full villainy. Like all the other things, the PSA missions, the DS games, which are fucking amazing. I love those. I never beat those, sadly, but I love those games. They're probably some of my favorite DS games. All of that was not enough. Operation Hibernation, a scheme where the island's government imprisons him and turns his own biology against him. either through poisoning or some other mean. They basically put him into a coma, indefinitely. Now tell me this. If the US government did that to a human, what would the public's reaction be? It's only after this operation that Herbert attempts his most heinous scheme yet, one that throws him into actual evil. Operation Blackout, aka the best Club Penguin party of all time. I remember seeing the trailer up on the original Club Penguin blog and freaking out. Herbert kidnaps every known EPF lead, starting with Gary and ending with the director, and throws the entire island into a recreation of the USSR. But without the executions, because it's still a kid's game. Compare this to Herbert's first appearance, and tell me this. Was Herbert always evil? Or was Antarctic the evil one? Turns out Sarah April was right on. I'm sorry, I just had to put that one joke there. I know that some people consider her like an asshole, like a massive dick that took the game, or at least her roleplay of the game way too serious. But you know what? I kind of agree with her liking Herbert. Like, there's something there. Even the creators did not want there to be a villain in Club Penguin at first. And I can kind of sense in the early writing of Herbert, where he's like, you can sympathize with him. But yeah, that's also why I'm #1 appointed Antarctic hater. Let's go, baby. Fuck the police. My cat's looking at me like, what the fuck are you saying? You are making a dark-ass theory about a dead kid's game? Here, Jennifer, meow into the mic. I'm gonna put my fucking cat on the mic. Jennifer, can you say something? Yeah.